topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good afternoon. You know, on this show here, I used to say, good afternoon, Tennessee and Missouri. Well, this show with attorney Lance Drury has become so big for us, we have turned all of his shows from a statewide show into a national show. And I want to get to your questions, but I want to just tell people, I haven't even told our great producer Juan this yet. For the last 2 years, I have been trying to get this show on TikTok. It is without a doubt one of the biggest platforms out there. The only problem is they have these guidelines that you have to have this unbelievable amount of viewers and listeners. And I thought we had enough because I love our numbers, but to them, it wasn't high enough. I got a call 2 days ago. They said our show has the numbers now to become part of TikTok. So starting next month, you will be able to watch our shows live on TikTok. And what they're going to do is they're going to take clips from each live show and run them throughout the day. I am so pumped up. Good afternoon, attorney Lance Drury.
Well, good afternoon, Steve. It's good to see you again, as always.
Hey, you know what? I am so proud of what you've done with this show. I mean, the numbers are amazing, and people are writing their questions in. But most of all, Lance, they love you.
Well, that's good to know, Steve. I'm glad to be here, help people out, educate them about the IRS and how to navigate the IRS maze. That's what we're here for. That's our purpose. We're here to save Fay Ray from the clutches of King Kong, Steve.
I love it when you do that. So tell people about your firm.
Steve, we represent individuals and businesses with problems before the IRS, and we also represent people in various state agencies. Just today, we picked up another client. She's being audited by the state of Missouri. We go into a number of states and help people out with the state agency problems that they have, but primarily our work is relegated to the IRS. There's 26 million plus delinquent taxpayers, Steve. By 2032, wow. There will be 35 million. So I think I've got job security here as long as the government doesn't shut down.
Well, I got to tell you, Lance, this is a very, very important part when it comes to the IRS. People, it literally scares them. It makes their life tough. It makes their relationships with their wife, girlfriends tough, day-to-day living. And what your firm does is you take all that burden off their shoulder.
That's what we're here for, Steve. You know, most tax attorneys talk numbers. We talk financial freedom. We save their businesses. We save their marriages. We save their income and their assets. Just a few weeks ago, I had a guy in Tennessee. He owed the IRS $1 million. He'd been messing with it by himself. We wanted $25,000 for a retainer. He didn't hire us, and 2 weeks later, the IRS took every asset he owned, including all of his retirement. And he's 55 years old, and he has nothing left. He's got to start over now from scratch just because he thought he could do this on his own.
You know, Lance, I'm so glad you bring that up, because there are so many people out there trying to handle this on their own. And, you know, you and I both know when you go up against the IRS, it's totally different. They've got the revenue behind them. Just the name IRS scares a lot of people. But your firm comes in and you no longer have to deal with them anymore.
No, and we don't want them to deal with them, because then we don't know what's going on, and they're going to say something that's going to mess up their case. They'll volunteer information that they don't have to volunteer. So that's what we do. I mean, that's why I do this. I'm 72 years old. I hope I'm doing it for 10 more years, because I love helping people out. In fact, I'm going to my St. Louis office tomorrow, which is an hour away, and talking to more prospective clients. So, you know, we want to help people out. That's the bottom line. This is not a business. This is my vocation in life. I've always been for the little guy against the overwhelming power of the government. I was a public defender for many years. Now I'm doing this because I've always sided with the little guy against the government, the big bad wolf, the IRS.
Well, I got to get to the questions, because these people all took the time out to write their questions in. Here is Ray in one of your office cities, San Antonio. Wants to know, can you be held personally liable for your business taxes?
Well, for the most part, no, but payroll is different because there's a portion of the trust fund, a portion of the payroll tax that's attributable to the employee. And so what happens in a lot of cases, the business is not really viable. They either shut down or they're not making enough money to pay all the payroll tax debt. So then Uncle Sam will conduct what's called a trust fund penalty interview. None of our clients go because it's identical to the statute for tax evasion, and no attorney is going to allow his client to go in and confess to a felony. And the significance of that trust fund is the trust fund is the portion of the payroll tax attributable to the employee, and they consider that they can come after you personally if they determine that you ran the business and knew or should have known that the taxes weren't being paid. And that's generally 50 to 60% of the total tax. So now they're not coming after the assets of the business or the income of the business. They're coming after you as an individual's assets and income. So, you got everything at risk. Now, it's not an additional tax, because for every dollar you pay down the trust fund civil penalty, you're also taking $1 away from the payroll tax. But you certainly don't want them to come after you personally and risk all your personal assets. But they can do that if you don't pay your payroll taxes.
I got to bring this up, Lance, because it bothers me so much. It seems like a lot of the letters we get are people who went with these you're a national company, but there's these national ads out there that have the celebrities doing the ads, and they call them up and they get some of the worst customer service, promises made to them that weren't really true. And these people have got a sour taste in their mouth. And that's why a show like this, that they're not going to have those kind of problems with your firm.
Well, I tell everybody there's 3 rules. If you don't hire me, hire an attorney that does this every single day. The problem with those big national firms is they have salespeople who are doing the initial consultations and make promises that they can't keep. And I know that because I interviewed a woman here once, and she said she hated it because after they sold the client to come with the firm, the case would be handed over to her. And she'd go, I can't do this. I can't do that, because they do make promises they can't keep. The industry gets a bad name because of that. Accountants are great with the numbers, but I tell everybody, all my attorneys have seen accountants give terrible advice to their clients because they just dabble in dealing with the IRS.
Yes.
90% of what they do is tax preparation. I tell them to go local.
And
we have people in all these offices, and don't hire one of the big boys, like you said. They just take your money, and a lot of time they don't do anything for you.
yeah, because one of the letters said they were trying to get my business. They would call me every day. Once I signed up with them, I rarely got a call back. And that's the problem. People are nervous, thinking everybody's like that, but not the Lance Drury law firm. So let me get to some of these other questions. Here's one from Miami. Just found your show. The IRS took money from my bank account for back taxes. How can you assist?
Well, you better get on it, because you've got only 21 days from the time that levy hit the bank in order to get it lifted. They're required to hold the monies. The bank is required to hold the monies for 21 days. That gives you time to try to negotiate a settlement with the IRS, and then they'll lift the levy once you get set up on some type of agreement with them. But you got to do it within that 21 days, which means it's a lot of work for you. It's a lot of work for us. And so in those cases, you got to come up with a lot of money up front. And the problem is people wait too long. They get levied, and then they don't have access to funds to hire an attorney to solve their problem for them. So procrastination, delay is, for the most part, not a good strategy with the IRS, but we can still help you. But you gotta get us the money to do the work, because we got to do all this work within 21 days while other people's cases sit, because they're not being levied. So we have more time to resolve their problem. But once you get levied, you got to get on it, or you're going to lose those funds.
Kathy in Richmond, Virginia, she said, I have not filed taxes the last 3 years. Does your firm assist in putting my taxes together for the last 3 years before we go up against the IRS?
Yes, but you may have to hire us for the IRS as well if you've got liability on the books. But yeah, we subcontract with accountants to do the tax returns. And as you probably know from the way your question was structured, you can't get a resolution with the IRS until the last 6 years' tax returns are prepared and filed. But if people have liability on the books from other years, then they got to hire me to do both, because they can come after them. You have no protection against a levy until you have an agreement with the IRS, whether that's currently non-collectible, some type of installment agreement, or an offer in compromise. You just got to get on this and deal with it. Had a woman today, she's paying a $7,500 retainer, but she really doesn't have a choice. She thought the audit was still going. This is what she told me. I said, send me your paperwork. The audit is over. And now they're saying she owes over $80,000 in state sales tax. So I'm meeting her in St. Louis tomorrow, because that could go criminal. I once defended a guy in St. Louis County. He owed $1 million in state sales taxes. He was running a scam. He'd set up an LLC, shut it down. He did this about 12 times, because I guess he thought they couldn't come after you personally. But by state statute, you're 100% responsible personally for any business sales tax. And the reason they're so hard on sales tax is they consider it stealing. The money was never yours. You were just collecting it for the state. And so what we have to do, because she's in danger of having criminal charges filed against her, we got to get this rectified before it goes to criminal investigation, because then she's got a lot less flexibility in trying to get her case resolved.
Well, we gave her your phone number and your website. Also, go to the website. You've got a great website. Here's William, another one of your cities that you have an office, Los Angeles.
Well, no, I don't have an office there yet.
You have an attorney there from Los Angeles.
Not anymore. They moved from Los Angeles to San Antonio to run my office down there.
Okay.
But their other motivation was they couldn't take the state's income tax anymore. They were wanting 13 to 14% out of their pay. And so a lot of people are fleeing California because of that. And so they went to San Antonio where there's no state income tax.
That's right. Okay, this is, he wants to know, what are the options to keep your business open and also avoid IRS enforcement action?
Well, I'm not so sure that I truly understand the question, but I'll do my best to try to answer it.
If the IRS coming after your business, how do you keep it open while they're coming after you?
Well, you keep it open by paying your current taxes. Nobody is going to give you a deal if you're not compliant moving forward. I tell everybody that comes to me, you've got to start paying your taxes on time and do that 100% going into the future, and let me worry about your back taxes, because nobody is going to be able to get you a deal if you continue to pyramid liability. And I can tell you, because I've gone to these conferences across the country, and they had people who were ex-employees of the IRS, and they said their highest priority is that payroll tax, because they're not going to keep the business going if you just continue to incur federal liability. They're going to want you to shut down. They're going to say you don't have a viable business. So what you got to do is you've got to start making your estimated tax payments. And here's the other thing, Steve. The biggest mistake I see self-employed people make that try to go at the IRS themselves is this. They call the IRS up. They set up an installment agreement. The IRS doesn't tell them it's based upon their ability to pay. They just make them pay every last dime over time. And then guess what? They can't make their estimated tax payments. The liability keeps going up. So here's one of the tricks of the trade. You have got to start making your estimated tax payments before you set up an agreement with the IRS if you have a business. Why? Because it keeps you compliant moving forward. You stop the hemorrhaging. And number two, the beauty of this is you can get a better deal on the back taxes, because those estimated tax payments are an allowable expense in determining your ability to pay on the back taxes. So guess what? If you pay $2,000 in taxes every month, that's $2,000 less dollars you're going to have to pay on the back taxes. And that is often the difference between the taxpayer paying every last dime back or not paying any of it back.
This is from James in Wichita. I love hearing your stories, especially the success ones. What are some of the common cases you see?
What are some of the common cases that I see?
That your firm represents?
Well, 70% of my clients are self-employed individuals. Those are the people who get in trouble because the taxes aren't automatically taken out. And part of the problem is sometimes somebody doesn't pay their bills. So to keep the business going, they pay their employees, they pay their suppliers. They think they'll catch up with Uncle Sam down the road, and it just snowballs. It just gets worse and worse. So, everybody thinks being your own boss is the American dream. But, the last thing people want to do when they get home at 7, 8 o'clock at night is to do paperwork. And, a few years ago, I saw an article where 75% of business owners don't make $80,000 a year. And then when you consider that you got to fund your own health insurance, you got to fund your own retirement, you're not making $80,000 a year. You're making a lot less. So, that's the things to consider. Is the most common is small businesses get in trouble. Part of the problem, though, is there's so much regulation. Nobody teaches these people all the paperwork that has to be done. And a lot of these state cases, you got to keep good records. You got to keep a separate bank account. And these people don't keep good records or good documentation. And so there's a lot that has to be done if you're going to have a business to yourself, or you're going to get in trouble with Uncle Sam. And you may be the best person in the world at what you do, but you may not be a very good business person. So you need to get on that internet and read some books on how to run a business and everything that entails. You need to go out and educate yourself. And we do that for people sometimes when they hire us to help with their business tax problems.
Final question is a very easy one. Why should I retain your firm?
Because we'll help protect your income and your assets. We go the extra mile. There's a lot of firms, they take the first time financials come in, they take the word of the client, they call up the IRS, they don't get the best possible deal. We have to go back and forth sometimes 3, 4, 5 times to get the numbers right, because people don't put down the right numbers all the time. We got to get documentation to substantiate some of those numbers. And so we will go the extra mile to get people the best possible deal. We've done it for years. We're a 4.7 out of 5. Google reviews St. Louis. We're a 4.9 out of 5 in Nashville. I've co-authored books. You go to my website. There's a lot of great stuff there. I won a national award. I've spoke across the country. So we're the real deal. We keep growing the firm. We have 1,000 clients at any one time. If we were one of these fly-by-night operations, I can tell you right now, we wouldn't have 1,000 clients at any one time.
I got to add this, Lance. I hope you don't get upset with this, but I'm going to tell people, if attorney Lance Drury's firm cannot help you, I'm telling you, no one else can. They're going to feed you a bunch of stuff. At least you're going to someone you can trust. Lance, we've got all these people on radio listening that don't see the scroll. What's the best phone number to reach you?
Well, I can't remember them all, Steve. There's so many now.
How about 888-367?
Just go to my website. Go to lancedrurylaw.com, and all the phone numbers will be listed there. And we even have a toll-free number in addition to numbers with the area codes of the respective offices. So there's quite a few ways that you can reach me. In fact, you can go to the website, you can fill out paperwork, answer all these questions, and schedule your own consultation with me, or you can call the office. I got great people. I get so many compliments.
You do.
I'll show up at the initial consult and they'll say, Kyla was great. Erica was great. Carla was great. Lisa was great. They really get a lot of compliments. I really do have people that care about our clients, and we've got a great team here. It's the best team I've ever had in terms of legal assistance and in terms of attorneys.
But you know who we're going to miss? Donna.
Yes, we will. She's leaving June the 1st, but she's told me she'll come back and fill in if I need her to from time to time.
Oh, that's good. Hey, Lance, have a great weekend. We're going to see you the first Monday at 8:25 Central Time with our national show, and we'll be on TikTok. Thank you, Lance. Have a wonderful weekend.
Bye-bye.
It's attorney Lance Drury. We're going to go to break. We'll be right back.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.